I'll be introducing to you the picture element. What is the picture element used for? Sometimes we may want to load multiple images at the same time with specific rules. We might also want to have a small screen or device and want a specific image to load for, say, a phone, and a specific image for a tab, specific image for a laptop, depending on the size of the viewport. To do this, we can simply define those images using the picture element. So to define the picture element, you simply call the picture tag by typing picture. Now we'll set up our picture element. The picture element is used to specify different images. So the syntax is simply picture, then your source. The source element is used to point at the location of the image that we want. So in this case, we have source. We can have multiple sources. So say source 1, source 2, second source, or third source. It's also important to note that there must always be an image element in the picture element. Each time you define the picture element, the last source should be an image element, so that anytime the browser cannot find each of the files in the first three sources, or does not recognize each of the files in the first three sources, it displays the image element. Now, the major reason we use picture element, aside being used to load different images with specific rules, is when we want to use different formats of images. Sometimes some browsers do not support certain formats of images, so we can define multiple images in the source element of the picture element. So the browser automatically chooses which image format that is convenient for it, or which image format it can interpret or recognize, and then it ignores the rest. So let's get to business. The first thing we need to do here is let's specify a source for the first image. Now, what we need to do here is to set the media rule. Remember, I said the picture element is used to set specific rules, so that maybe if one person is using an image, a mobile phone to view a page, a specific image would show. So now see how that works. We can now set the media attribute and set a rule for the minimum width. 650 pixels. Let's set it at 650 pixels here. Sorry, I made a mistake. Sorry. Let's set it at say 800 pixels. Then we need to set sorry, made an error here. We need to set the src set attribute. Now, one major difference between the source element and the image element is the use of the src and the src set attributes. In the image we have src, but here we use the src set attribute to locate the location of the image. So here we're going to use, from the folder, we'll just select image 3_scary. So that's the image we're using, this image here. The file format is .png. What I'm going to do is I'll copy all of this, and I'll paste it in all source elements, and then I'll define the rule for viewports that have a minimum width of 650 pixels. I want a different image to show or to be displayed on the web browser. So let's use car1. If you check our folder here, we'll have a list of images. Here is car1.jpg. So that's what we'll be using here. For the next source element, let's define this. We want to set the minimum width of the viewport to 450. Here we can choose another image of our choice. Let's say cartoon.jpg. Let's see what the file format is. Okay, .png for cartoon. That is it. So we want to set the image element. You can use any value. We have so many pictures here in the folder. Let's use the food.jpg. So here I'll be using the relative file path referencing, just so that we get used to it. So both methods of file referencing as stated here are relative. So you can set an alternate text for it, say food. Remember to always set the width of your image to some specific value, 300 height. Let's set it to 300. Let's save this file and view it on our browser. So this is what happens here. Sorry. Let's adjust the size of our viewport. I think there's an error here. Please remove that. So let's save the file and view on our browser. But then we noticed what happened. When the rules for the source elements were not met, the image file was loaded. Remember what I said, when the source element cannot be viewed by the web browser, the image element is what is displayed. So let's go back and see how this works. So we have this. So each time the viewport is greater than 800 pixels, this particular image here shows. So let's reduce the size of the viewport. You can see what's happening. When it's about 650 pixels, this car shows. When it's less than that, 460 pixels, we have this car. So assuming someone is using a mobile phone to view this web page and the size of the viewport is less than 650 pixels but above 465 pixels, this image shows. For a wider screen like a tab, this car shows. Then for a much larger screen like a laptop, this image shows. So that is how the picture element works.